And this all leads to the match that's been built with several matches with the two teams. July 14, 2019, Extreme Rules. What is the thinking, do you think, in having you guys interact so much before this match?
Well, I thought we should have been built up as the two best tag teams in the company. And again, we shouldn't have touched until the match. But yes, we had a ton of matches. And at that point in WWE, that was their booking mentality, was to have, whatever the main feud was to have an iteration of that match somehow multiple times, whether it was an 8-man tag or 6-man tag or 4-way or 3-way or whatever. That was the style of their booking for whatever reason. I just remember this match, I was not super happy with it. Not because of anything, just my performance. I wasn't happy with it. I don't think anything bad happened in the match, but I do remember the opening of that match, or the opening of that card. I think I'm right about this, was The Undertaker and Roman against Drew.
Mm-hmm.
Drew, yes. And we had to follow that. And this was The Undertaker's first match in forever, right? And then you've got the main guy in the company, Roman Reigns, and they're opening the show. And so we had to follow that match. And they had a good match too, a really good match. And we had to follow that. And it was just, start and stop booking for a team that they didn't care about in us, and they didn't believe in us. It was just a death spot. And I was just, I was so unhappy with my performance and the what that match produced.
You kind of had to be happy, at least looking back on it, on the shape you were in. Like, you were in maybe your peak, at least aesthetic-wise, physical shape. You had the ridiculous tan. Do you look back on that time and you feel like, wow, I'm really becoming a sports entertainer?
At that time, I was starving myself, doing a shit ton of cardio and working out all the time. And then the thing is like, when you start doing that and you start starving yourself, especially someone like me who has all this excess skin, and that's gross, from being such a fat kid, at first you're going to look decent, right? And then eventually you're going to lose so much muscle mass, you're going to look skinny fat. And that's eventually what happened. I just continued to starve myself and continued to do hours and hours of cardio. I mean, you can ask my travel partners, Dan and Elias. I mean, I would never miss a day in the gym. Right. And yeah, I was super tan. I'll tell you, this happened so many times. I'll tell you a couple of quick stories. We were going through through a border town, I think coming from Canada to the U.S., and I was so dark and so tan. It was me, Elias, Cash, and Chad Gable. And the Border Patrol, as we're driving through, he stops us and he asks for the passports. And he shines the light on everybody. And it's just like a movie, dude. Shines the light on Dan, who's driving, Cash, and he says, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" "Yes, sir." Shines the light over to Elias. "Are you a U.S. citizen?" "Yes, sir." Shines the light to Chad Gable. "Are you a U.S. citizen?" "Yes, sir." And again, remember, I'm completely brown, dude, from all this tan. He shines the light on me. He said, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You are a U.S. citizen." I said, "Yes, sir. Look at my deal," So he couldn't believe it. And then another time, the same period, I was flying back home. And it was a 2-seater plane, like a 2-seater row and a 2-seater. And I was in the emergency exit row, right? And there was a Latino woman next to me, and I was super dark again. And in these exit rows, when you're flying, domestically, you have to speak English. You have to be able to speak English. Right. So the stewardess came over, and the flight attendant came over, and she said, "I'm sorry, do you speak English?" She's talking to the woman, the Latino woman, and she said, "No, I don't speak English." And she said, "Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you to change seats because it's a rule, it's a law that." They have to, and the woman couldn't understand what the flight attendant was saying. And so the woman looked at me and she said, Do do you or she said, hey, she looked at me and she said, hey, you guys are going to have to move. I'm very sorry. I said, wait, I'm going to have to move. And she said, oh, you're not together. I said, no, I'm American. And she said, oh, I'm so sorry. So it's, I was tanning a little too much back then. I had to lay off the tanning bed.